want to tell you about a founder I worked with. I'll call him, let's say, Arjun. Arjun ran a B2B software company, solid product, paying customers, decent revenue. He hired a marketing agency, a good one, not a cheap one, and gave them a brief that went something like this. We need more leads. Here's our website. Go. 6 months later, he was furious. Thousands of dollars spent, a handful of blog posts, a few LinkedIn ads that went nowhere, and the agency in their final meeting had the nerve to say the results were limited because the brief wasn't clear enough. Arjun called me after that meeting. He said, and I remember this exactly, they took my money and blamed me for their failure. And here's the thing, he wasn't wrong, but he's also wasn't entirely right. Right? In this video, I'm going to tell you what actually happened in that relationship and in almost every failed agency relationship I have seen across 20 years in marketing. Because there's a pattern, and understanding it is the only way to make sure the next time goes differently. If you have been burned by a marketing agency, a freelancer, or a hire, or if you are about to bring someone in and you want to get it right, subscribe. This channel exists for founders in exactly that position. Alright, so before I get into what goes wrong, and I want to say something very clearly. Some agencies are genuinely bad. Some are run by people who oversell and underdeliver, who staff your account with juniors, who prioritize billable hours over your results. That is real. That happens. And if that's what happened to you, your anger is legitimate. But that's not what I want to talk about today, because you already know how to handle a bad agency. You fire them basically. What I want to talk about is the other kind of failure, the kind where the agency wasn't incompetent, but the relationship still fell apart. That failure is more common, more expensive, and almost never talked about honestly. Because talking about it honestly means both sides have to take some responsibility. So here's the pattern. I've seen it more times than I can count. A founder decides they need marketing help. They interview 2 or 3 agencies. They pick the one that gave the most confident pitch. The one that seemed to understand the business fastest, had the nicest deck, maybe name dropped a few recognizable clients. Right? Sounds familiar. They sign a contract. There's an onboarding call. The agency asks for assets, logo files, brand guidelines, access to the website, the social accounts. The founder sends what they have. Then the agency starts producing work, content, ads, maybe a campaign. The founder reviews it and thinks, this doesn't quite sound like us. But they approve it anyway because they don't know exactly what sounding like us means either. A few months in, the numbers aren't moving. There are meetings. The agency shows dashboards full of impressions and reach and engagement rates. The founder asks about leads. The agency says it takes time to build momentum. Right? You're still with me, right? More months pass, the founder loses patience, the contract ends or gets cancelled, everyone moves on frustrated. So whose fault is it? Here's my answer. It's a structural failure. And it started on day 1, before a single piece of content was created. Let's start with the agency side, because they do carry responsibility here. A good agency, when they walk into a new client relationship, should be doing one thing before anything else. Diagnosing, not producing. They should be asking, what does your best customer look like? What problem are you solving that nobody else solves in exactly your way? What does success look like in month 3, month 6, and month 12? And how will we measure it? If your agency skip those questions and jump straight to deliverables, that is a failure of process on their side. Deliverables without diagnosis are just busy work, and busy work is very easy to invoice. Excuse me. A good agency should also tell you when your brief isn't good enough. Not at the end of 6 months, but at the beginning. If they took your money knowing they didn't have enough to work with, that is on them. Now here's the hardest part, the part my friend Arjun didn't want to hear. When you hired that agency, did you know specifically what you wanted them to achieve? Not more leads specifically. How many leads per month? From what type of company? And what stage of the buying journey? Did you have a clear message about what makes your business different? Not a tagline, an actual answer to why a customer should choose you over the next option. Did you have a brief, a real one, with context about your customers, your competitors, your past attempts at marketing, what worked and what didn't. If the answer to any of those is no, and for most founders it is, then what you handle the agency was a blank canvas and a check. And a blank canvas is where bad work gets made. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this because the founders who get the most out of agency relationships are almost always the one who showed up prepared. They had done the thinking before the agency arrived. They had opinions. They pushed back. They gave the agency something real to work with. The founders who get the least are the ones who outsource the thinking along with the execution. So if you're thinking about working with an agency again, or a freelance or a marketing hire, here's what I would do different. First, do your messaging work before you hire anyone. Know what you're saying, why you are saying it, who you are saying it to, and why they should care. If you can't answer those things, three things clearly, no external resource will answer them for you. They will just guess, and you will pay for the guessing. Second, define success before you sign anything. Write it down. This engagement will be considered successful if X happens by month 3 and Y happens by month 6. Make the agency agree to those numbers. If they won't agree to specific outcomes, ask why. Their answer will tell you everything. Third, treat the first month as a diagnostic, not a production month. A good agency should be asking questions, not cracking out content. If they are producing deliverables in week 2 before they really understand your business, slow them down. 4, review work as a marketer, not as a client. Don't just say, I like it or I don't like it. Say, does it speak to the right person? Does it say the right thing? Does it move them toward a decision? That discipline makes your feedback useful instead of frustrating. Look, agency relationships fail for 100 reasons. Sometimes the agency is the problem, sometimes the timing is wrong, sometimes the market shifts, sometimes it's just bad. But in my experience, the most common reason is simpler and more fixable than any of those. The founder didn't know what they wanted to say, and the agency didn't stop to find out. That's a solvable problem, and it starts with you, not them. Before you bring in anyone else to help you with your marketing, get clear on your message, know who your best customer is, know what they care about, know what makes you different. Build that foundation yourself or with someone who will help you build it properly, and then hand it to the agency. That changes everything about how the relationship goes. So if you have been burnt or you're about to hire someone and you don't want history to repeat itself, I'll suggest starting with a deep teardown from me. It's a structured review I run of your current messaging, your positioning, and your marketing foundation. We look at what's working, what's broken, and what needs to be in place before you spend another dollar on execution. It's just $3.99 and it takes about a week. The link is in the description. Drop a comment below if any of this rhyme true, especially if you have been in Arjun's position. I want to hear what your version of that story looks like. Next video, I'm talking about how to figure out whether your problem was bad marketing or a bad product. Because those are completely different problems with completely different solutions. And most founders are solving the wrong one. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you then.